I don't know what this particular strike's about for the voice actors and stuff. I knew what the last one was about, but not this one. So we'll watch Joe. This is Risley's VA, right? Hey, YouTube. Just want to let you all know, after watching this video, I reached out to Risley's VA to come on stream on the 8th of August to talk more in depth personally about the strikes and how AI is impacting voice actors. So if you want to tune in for that, please do feel free. You can feel free to ask tons of questions. It'll be a blast and you'll be more educated like I will. We're also running a fundraiser over on Twitch right now. We've raised $871.69 in one day, and it's ongoing for 7 full days. So if you do want to donate, that'd mean a lot. I'll also be running a couple of fundraisers on certain videos here on YouTube too. So thank you very much for supporting and enjoy the reaction. Voice actor explains the 2024 SAG-AFTRA video game strike. Interesting.
So,
yo,
you want to steal our voices and use it to teach AI without paying us?
So it is about this again. Okay. I'd like to be more informed on this situation because, I mean, I've heard plenty about it already, especially from the last one, and it sucks, but I'm curious if it's got worse since last time or if it's the same.
Okay, let's talk.
Yo,
SAG-AFTRA, the Actors Union, is once again on strike. In this video, we're going to break down why the union is striking, what it means for you as a voice actor, or what it means for you as just a general consumer.
Yeah.
Many people still remember the 2016 strike, which was way...
By the way, I do want to say, I'm going to be pausing a lot during this video because I do like to give my own thoughts and opinions on this kind of stuff when I learn more about it. And I do just want to say, a lot of people, when they see that voice actors are on strike, they disregard how it will affect them as consumers when it comes to the reasoning for the strikes and things. Like, sure, the strikes may not affect you directly, but if they didn't strike and their voices got replaced by AI, you would notice a substantial difference in quality of production of video game characters and video games in general and everything else, dude. AI, although impressively accurate in a lot of situations, is nowhere near perfect. It is nowhere near perfect, and I'm not even delving into right now the ethics of it because it's fucked up, stealing people's voices without their consent to train AI to do this kind of stuff. I'm not even touching on that right now. I'm just talking as a consumer, the quality of products you would receive would be drastically worse, by far.
Way more complicated than this one. The 2016 video game strike had numerous issues that made it difficult to follow. In contrast, the current strike is much clearer and straightforward. It essentially boils down to this. Okay, would you guys mind not using our faces, voices, or likenesses to make money without compensating us?
Nice.
Of course not. The ethical and moral implications of such a thing would be bafflingly antagonistic. Okay, great. So if you could just sign this contract, no. So you do want to steal the method by which we make our livelihood and teach artificial intelligence to use them so you could replicate them without our permission or compensation? Well, that would be ridiculous. Nobody wants that. I certainly would be upset if a robot tried to take my job. Amazing. Then we're in agreement. If you could just put that in the contract, absolutely not. But you're promising that you won't do it? Yes, of course. So you could just put it in the... No. But we need it in writing if we're going to not going to happen.
So this is... a lot of people digest information a lot better when it's told in a skit. Which is interesting, actually. And it might be no disrespect here, it might be the Zoomer generation with growing up on the internet and digesting a lot of information naturally through the internet and stuff. But yeah, a lot of people do digest information from this better, and including me. I've started to digest information through skits and stuff a bit easier than just straight up reading information, I guess, but I digest information pretty well nonetheless. But this is very interesting. So basically what he's saying is they spoke with the video game companies who said, we will not use your voice to train AI products, but they refuse to put it in a contract that is legally binding. So they just expect them to take their word for it, which is...
You realize that a promise in written form is just called a contract. Snowball's chance in hell. Well, I guess that means we're gonna have to go on strike. Now, why on earth would you be so unreasonable? The issue for the Actors Union in 2024 is existential. Actors do not want companies to have the legal ability to take their voices, their livelihood, and make models of them without paying us.
And this is where the ethics come into it, because yes, voice actors need to make a living just as regular actors do. I say regular actors because honestly, a lot of the time in these contracts and stuff, voice actors and actors are separate when I don't think they should be. But they do differentiate it a lot when it comes to like Hollywood actors and voice actors. I just find it crazy, dude, that this is even a thing. I genuinely find it crazy that this is even a thing, because it is a big ethical dilemma. AI makes it a lot easier and cheaper for people to make products and stuff, but that shouldn't ever be the point when it comes to this, because if they replace voice actors with AI completely, they are literally ruining the lives and careers of multiple real human people that already have an established career in this field, which is kind of gross. Now, my thing that I said about a year ago when this was also a thing and the other strike took place was that I don't inherently think AI being implemented into this kind of stuff is a bad thing. I think AI has great uses if it's done ethically and in proportion to everything else that's going on. For gaming, AI should only be used for stress testing. I also kind of disagree with that. I think implementing AI into this kind of situation is okay if the voice actors have been appropriately compensated for it. Now, hear me out. This shouldn't be a crazy thing to a lot of people. If, for example, Joe here went up to a game company that wanted to use his voice and was like, the game company were going to pay him $100 an hour to use his voice, at least for the recording purposes. But instead, they were like, okay, we want to use your voice in perpetuity for like a year worth of this stuff, or like 6 month worth of training, but we will pay you 6 month worth as well. And they paid him like tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars for that service and that product to use that voice for a very specific thing for like one character and nothing else. I think that wouldn't be as bad as what is going on now. I don't know if it'd be perfect by any means necessary, but I think it'd be a much more ethical way of doing it. The issue is AI replacing voice actors and also voice actors not getting fucking paid. That's the problem. They're putting it in the current contract saying, yep, we'll pay you the $100 an hour and we're going to use this voice to train our AI so we don't have to fucking pay you in the future. That's the biggest issue. From what I can see, I'm happy to be proven wrong or be educated more on the situation though.
Some contracts
also curious what you guys think, so feel free to put your messages in chat too.
Their livelihood and make models of them without paying us. Some contracts entirely lack language protecting actors from this,
yes,
while others have outdated language that could now be interpreted to include AI usage. For example, one company's contracts allow them to simulate, and that's in the contract, that word, an actor's voice to make editing easier. That made sense in the 1980s when they need to sort of mess things around digitally. But today, this could be interpreted to mean that that company could use an actor's voice indefinitely in simulation.
That's tough. I also think if they do plan to use it for AI purposes, they need to make it very clear that they are going to be using it for those purposes to train an AI thing. Simulate someone's voice to me is like if I were to record a voice line that's like, no, right? A simulation of that voice would be, no. Adding effects and shit, right? Changing the way the voice is heard on the opposite end with different effects. That's what simulate should be in my eyes for voice acting in contracts. It should not be to train AI to replace the voice completely. That's fucking ridiculous.
Without compensation. These are the kind of loopholes I discuss in my other videos about the importance of reading contracts and protecting ourselves against AI. To me, this situation is overall baffling. It doesn't make any sense to me why companies would refuse to include protective language in their contracts. Actors are not asking for more money or really significant changes to working conditions.
Hold on.
Any sense to me why companies would refuse to include protective language in their contracts. Actors are not asking for more money or really significant changes to.
Yeah, so he's saying actors just want to be protected against AI. They're not asking for more money. My thing, I guess, was if they have to use AI, they should get more money.
Working conditions. They're simply asking you not to have our voices stolen.
They just don't want their voices used for this kind of stuff. There should be a very clear-cut option to just not have your voice used for AI purposes.
And used without compensation. Or to train AI.
It should always be a choice to have your voice used for AI.
Models that'll effectively do the same thing. The ethical and moral grounds are really clear-cut here. Unlike the previous strike, which had arguments on both sides about actors wanting.
Wait, there was a strike for this in 2016?
More money or different sort of working conditions. Like I said, it was much more complicated. This is very cut and dry.
Wow.
And I hope I'm saying that this strike won't last long, but I often feel like I'm punished for being an optimist, so I'll refrain from further predictions. So that's why we're striking. It's basic, easy to solve. There are already contract writers, like those from NAVA, a great organization you should familiarize yourself with, that addresses AI protections. Many companies have signed these agreements without issues. Games are still getting made, nobody's losing money. A complicated legal and bureaucratic structure that's like, well, we have to run this through legal, shouldn't really excuse larger corporations from doing the same. This simple request harms nobody and helps everybody.
Totally agree.
I can see both sides of an argument. Most of my friends and colleagues will know that I'll always play devil's advocate, but this one confuses even me. It's really frustrating that it had to come to a strike, but here we are, and that's why. Now, let's talk about what a strike means, as there are
Can I say as well, I don't know if he touches on this in this video, but we were talking about this last time they had a really big strike, like a year ago, whenever it was, for the SAG-AFTRA stuff. And unionizing would help voice actors a lot, but they're always like, a lot of the voice actors were basically saying the unions that exist just don't have the protective language, just like he's saying here, right? I came up with the magnificent idea, which it might not be a magnificent idea, but I thought, why don't voice actors just get together to make a union? Like, create their own union. Genuinely. I know they don't make a shit ton of money, and unionizing might be very expensive, but if a lot of them came together and crowdfunded, because I guarantee you, chat, this is the exact words that I said before, if people like Joe and fucking Ray Chase and Griffin and Zach Aguilar came together, posted out a tweet on their platforms with a GoFundMe saying, if you would like to support the voice actors that voice your favorite characters, donate to this so we can set up our own union. Dude, they would. I guarantee you they would fund way more than enough to be able to set up their own union. Thoughts? I don't know if that's something that they can do legally. I don't know if it's something that they'd even have the time to do or anything like that. Also, what is this face I'm paused on? I just realized that. Thank you, Lola, for pointing that out. Isn't SAG-AFTRA an org or a kind of union? Just asking. Maybe, but this is the point. Like they were saying last time, there's unions that exist that don't fulfill the needs of protection that they require. But it's possible for unions to protect the voice actors in this case. So why not just unionize themselves? Why not set up their own union? That's what I'm saying. To like make the rules what they need it to be or want it to be. I would love to get into a call with Joe about this and actually talk about it and hear from like a first-person perspective, because I admit I'm quite what's the word? Just uneducated on this kind of matter, and I'd love to learn more information about it. I genuinely would. You imagine it's not as simple as that? I agree with you, but I just don't know how difficult it would be. Yeah, I don't know. There
are many misconceptions about it. Last year, when the same union went on strike for the film and TV contract, I had people accusing me of being a strike breaker, which didn't make sense on my voice acting ads. There's so much misunderstanding and misinformation out there, so it's important to focus on the specific details of a strike. By the time I finish explaining, you'll see how narrow the strike actually is. First, the union, SAG-AFTRA, I'll use both interchangeably.
There we go. So SAG-AFTRA is a union.
Per contract. This means there are several collective bargaining agreements, contracts, under the union's umbrella, including film and TV, commercial, interactive, which includes video games, animation, dubbing, and others. Each has its own rate structure, has its own working conditions and provisions, as well as specific companies signed on to that contract on the production side. When the union says it's on strike, it generally refers to one particular contract, not the whole union. Actors are not prohibited from working in commercials or other genres associated with completely different collective bargaining agreements. Currently, the only contract on strike is the interactive media agreement, which we'll call the video game contract. On top of that, not every video game is struck. Many video game companies have never engaged with the union and are not under a collective bargaining agreement.
For sure. Sorry, I got confused and I thought you meant not every video game company under SAG-AFTRA was part of it, but they should be, right? That's the whole point of a union. If you enter a union, a contract for video games that involves your video game, you have to strike. That's the whole point of a union. You can't refuse to strike. Correct, chat? Yes. Okay.
Many video game companies.
But yeah, there's a lot of companies that don't unionize. I think unionizing is a good thing. I do. But I do think it needs to be a union that actually represents your wants and needs more than SAG-AFTRA clearly do.
Have never engaged with the union and are not under a collective bargaining agreement. Sometimes you'll hear, is this a union game? Is this a non-union game? Is this a union project? Is it a non-union project? For non-union projects that have never been union, the union can't strike their games.
Yep.
Therefore, there are games that you're going to see come out that are outside the union's jurisdiction. Yes. Similarly,
what happens? Oh, this might explain it. Actually, I was going to say, what happens if a voice actor like Joe voices in a game that is under the union protection, and then also voices in a game that's not? Is he still allowed to voice act for the games that aren't part of the union?
If an actor isn't in the union, they're not governed by union rules. They're not technically needing to strike anything. However, strike breakers, or scabs, are generally ostracized by the community, even though the union can't technically punish them. If you're caught...
But like, my thing is, what if you as a voice actor are part of the union, but you voice for two games? One game is part of the union and one game's not. Are you as a voice actor that is part of the union allowed then to voice act for the game that is not part of the union? Or would you also be classed as a strike breaker because you're breaking your strike, even though the video game's not? That's a very confusing point.
Breaking the picket line, being a scab, breaking a strike by working on struck projects as a non-union member. Not great for your career or your reputation. Additionally, not all games under the union are struck. Some games are grandfathered in because they were in production before the strike, even if they're built under a struck company. If a game or a company signs an interim bargaining agreement providing AI protection.
Yeah, I don't think there would be a simple answer to that question. Again, I thought I'd really like to get on a call with him to discuss this kind of stuff. It interests me a lot, to be honest.
The union will work with them even during a strike. This means that any company at any time can sign an interim agreement and immediately access the same union actors as they did before the strike. It magically becomes unstruck as soon as they sign that agreement. So it's not like there needs to be this giant agreement that happens. Any company can say, look, we're cool with the non-AI thing. We'll just sign that. Let's move forward. And it's fine. Okay. Another important caveat to the strike, if the game is operating under a sort of sub-agreement we call the low-budget tiered interactive media agreement, which you can just say is cheaper indie games.
Yes, I was going to say, is that indie games?
Absolutely not under the strike at all. So all the amazing small budget games, which if you didn't know, can still work with and afford union actors, by the way, are totally safe. To summarize.
Yeah, that's a very good point. A lot of people think indie games, you can't really get like big voice actors. And this is, I guess this goes to another point. It feels shitty to say this, but like from what I know, and again, I could be wrong about this, but I don't think I am. The cost of a voice actor is not that expensive, even for a very good voice actor. I personally think that kind of sucks because I feel like voice actors deserve way more than what they get. Like way more. I'm talking a lot more than what they get. But if it is like people said, like $100 an hour, indie games can easily afford a very, very good voice actor for their games, dude. It's just that a lot of them also have like in-house voice actors and actresses and stuff and want to give opportunities to more people that maybe don't already participate in voice acting, which is also very, very cool, by the way. But yeah, I've seen it a couple of times where indie games have had like very strong voice acting and people are like, if this is an indie game, how the fuck did you get this person? It's like, well, that's just what it is. It's not super expensive.
The Actors Union is punishing companies that refuse to include AI protections by ordering union actors not to work for specific companies.
Wait, let me go over this again.
Safe. To summarize, the Actors Union is punishing companies that refuse to include AI protections.
Punishing companies that refuse, so that's a good thing.
By ordering union actors not to work for specific companies and games.
Yes.
Any company can resume working with union actors by signing an interim agreement with AI protections, and it'll all go away when the strike ends and we have a new collective bargaining agreement that includes those AI protections.
Fantastic. That sounds amazing to me. Wait, so is SAG-AFTRA good or bad then? I was always under the impression that they were just bad because they didn't fight for what the voice actors wanted.
It's simple, right? Much simpler than the internet makes it out to be. There are additional rules about what actors can and cannot do with struck games. For example, a union actor cannot promote a struck project through conventions, interviews, appearances, etc. This extends beyond acting to make the game successful. You're helping the company make the game successful.
So I'm also assuming this goes without saying that Genshin do have AI protection in their contracts with the voice actors, right? Because last time there was a SAG-AFTRA strike that the voice actors were a part of, they still voiced for Genshin stuff and promoted Genshin stuff. Is that correct? Genshin doesn't. The contract isn't with Hoyo, it's Formosa. Oh, of course, yeah, it's the other voice studio, isn't it? Yeah, that's fucking true. Oh, yeah, actually, you've just jogged a fucking core memory of that last year where Formosa were the people that were giving the voice actors a lot of shit. Yeah, never mind.
Asking actors not to do that. However, that doesn't mean that actors can't promote non-union games or games outside the union's jurisdiction. The things I was talking about before, games that aren't struck, companies that aren't struck. So when you see someone talking about a game they're working on, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a strike breaker. Publicly breaking a strike is career suicide. Most people would not flaunt that on social media. Furthermore, if you're a streamer, a YouTuber, right? Good
point, dude. What about people like Sayu? Are they allowed to? They wouldn't be allowed to promote the games by streaming them either, right?
Union, A, probably can't govern you unless you're a union member, and B, they're not saying that you can't play games. As a matter of fact, they want you to play games and keep enjoying it. You should look at SAG-AFTRA's website on the links in the description below for more really detailed information about that. In addition, at that website, you can actually check to see if govern you. You're a streamer, a YouTuber, right? The union, A, probably can't govern you unless you're a union member, and B, they're not saying that you can't play games. As a matter of fact,
So they're not saying that people like Sayu can't play the games? He's just talking about streamers, not VA streamers like Sayu. But streamers wouldn't be under the SAG-AFTRA stuff, right? I don't know. I need to look into that a little bit more.
want you to play games and keep enjoying it. You should look at SAG.
He said he won't be streaming Hoya games. Interesting.
AFTRA's website on the links in the description below for more really detailed information about that. In addition, at that website, you can actually check to see if a project is struck or not struck. There's a handy dandy little form there you can fill out and say, hey, this project number, is it struck or is it not struck? Or you can just call the union and ask them. So actors, you also should be aware that companies may try to find actors who don't understand they're breaking the strike or obfuscate their details so you can't tell it's a struck project. Don't be that actor, okay? Companies might use things like online casting websites, hiding the game information until you're too invested to back out. This happened during the last strike, so when in doubt, go find out.
True.
You can always back out. You don't have to work a struck project if you find out suddenly that it's struck. Overall, though,
Yeah, we'll take a look at Zai's video in a sec.
most voice acting work is not affected by this strike. If you're not working under the union interactive contract, you don't need to worry. However, the safest and most enforceable way to ensure AI...
So, you know, like, people, if people are fucking scabs in the union and they get, like, career suicided, people disrespect them, look down on them. The people that are part of the SAG-AFTRA union look down on other voice actors that refuse to join the union? Is it like a fucking school club of people where they like talk shit about people that just don't want to join? No. Interesting. So it's just the people that are like, yes, I want to join the union, and then break their oath to the union, I guess. People that go back on their words. They don't really care if people don't want to be part of the union. Healthy. I like that.
interactive contract, you don't need to worry. However, the safest and most enforceable way to ensure AI protections is under a union contract. If you, even if you're not union, or the game you're working on, even if it is also not union, want to solidify its status in the union for free, use the link in the description below to get in touch with Nava, who will do this entire process for you, and nobody will lose a job anywhere.
Interesting.
As a consumer, you might see delays in larger video game releases from struck companies. That sucks, yes, but waiting a few extra months is totally worth it to prevent the acting industry from collapsing due to bad contracts. How can you help as a consumer or just as a regular old person? Show solidarity for actors. This doesn't mean attacking companies on Twitter or joining internet mobs.
No.
Please.
This is never the answer, by the way. I just want to put that out there. At this point, you become 10 times worse than the thing that you're trying to defeat. You live long enough to become the villain, you know? But in a really fucking cringe, less cool sounding way.
Don't do that. Just because you see something online doesn't mean it's true. Good friends of mine have been chased off social media with death threats for trivial reasons. If you're one of my voice acting students, remember my mantra. Stay above the noise. Most online discussions are full of people who don't know what they're talking about. A lot of noise. Remember, the phrase going viral?
But this is why as well, chat. This is why I say...
Stay above the noise.
For this part specifically?
Most online discussions are full of people who don't know what they're talking about. It's a lot of noise.
There is a lot of noise. And he's entirely right. Most of these discussions are full of people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Right now, I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about, but this is why I watch these videos, because I want to be more informed on it. I might message Joe actually and see if he would maybe want to get on a call or something to explain some things, because I do think it's cool to be more informed about this kind of stuff.
Remember, the phrase going viral is based on a disease. Be part of the cure, not the sickness.
Also, for a fucking 10-minute video, dude, this is incredibly informative and very well put together, straight to the point.
Get educated. Visit the union website and other links in the description that I'm going to provide below to learn about the challenges that actors face. An educated ally is a useful ally. If inclined, donate to advocacy groups. My favorite is the National Association of Voice Actors, or NAVA. I've talked about them a ton. They do incredible work for voice actors. They offer free resources for both actors and consumers to clarify industry issues, including webinars.
I assume this is people who have consented to their voice being used for AI, right? I would assume.
For both actors and consumers to clarify industry issues, including webinars. Most importantly, this is what I want you to do above all. Be human.
Yes.
Actors are humans. So are the people at production and gaming companies.
Yeah.
Don't judge someone for having a company's logo in their bio. Be patient, be kind, be assertive, but be human. I hope this video clears up some of the confusion about the strike and inspires you to pursue what lights your fire, whether that's voice acting or game development. The world needs great artists on both sides.
I agree.
And the more we work together, the better our art will be.
Agreed.
Thanks for taking the time to
listen.
What
a legend, dude. Good shit. Very informative video. Holy fuck. Let me subscribe as well. I didn't realize I wasn't subbed to Joe.